I woke up with a sharp pain in my head. At first, I thought I was still dreaming. My mind felt heavy, like it was filled with thick fog. I tried to move my hands, and pain shot through my wrists again. That was when the fear came rushing back. I was not dreaming. I was still tied up. The floor beneath me was cold and hard. My back ached. My mouth was dry, and my throat burned like I had been screaming all night, even though I hadn't made a sound. I opened my eyes slowly. It was dark, but not completely. A small light flickered in the corner of the room. It looked like an old bulb, hanging from the ceiling, barely holding on. That was when I realized where I was. The basement. The smell made sense now. Old boxes. Damp walls. Rust. Mold. Years of forgotten things stacked on top of each other. My heart began to beat faster. How did I get here? I whispered. Then pieces of the night before began to come back. I remembered sitting on the couch. I remembered the warm smile. The kind voice. Just drink this, I was told. You look tired. A glass had been placed in my hand. I didn't question it. I trusted them. Why wouldn't I? They were family. I remembered taking just a few sips. The room spinning. The walls moving. My body becoming heavy. Then, nothing. Tears filled my eyes. I pulled against the ropes again. Harder this time. The ropes dug into my skin. I felt something warm trickle down my wrist. Blood. I stopped. If I kept pulling, I would only hurt myself more. I forced myself to breathe slowly. In, out. In, out. That's when I heard it again. Footsteps. Not upstairs this time. Closer. Much closer. The basement door creaked open. Light poured down the stairs, blinding me for a moment. I squinted, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. A shadow appeared. Then a face. It was the maid. Her eyes were red and swollen, like she had been crying for hours. She rushed down the stairs and knelt in front of me. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice shaking. I tried to warn you. My lips trembled. Why? I croaked. Why am I here? She looked over her shoulder, terrified someone might hear us. They said you wouldn't fight, she said. They said you wouldn't last long. My whole body went cold. What do you mean? I asked. She shook her head. I can't say much. They're watching. They always are. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small bottle of water. She held it to my lips. Drink, she whispered. Slowly. I drank, tears rolling down my face. Please, I begged. Help me. She hesitated. Her hands trembled. I'll try, she said softly. But you must listen carefully. She leaned closer. They are waiting for morning. My heart dropped. For what? I asked. Her eyes filled with fear. To make it look like an accident. Before I could ask anything else, footsteps echoed from above. Heavy footsteps. Angry footsteps. The maid jumped up. They're coming, she whispered urgently. Remember this, whatever happens, do not eat or drink anything they give you again. Then she ran. The light snapped off. The basement door slammed shut. I was alone again. Minutes passed. Or maybe hours. Time moved strangely in that dark place. My mind raced. An accident. What kind of accident? A fall. A fire. A heart attack. I thought of the lonely Thanksgivings I had spent before. I thought of how happy I had felt walking into that house. How foolish I had been. Suddenly, the basement door opened again. This time, it wasn't the maid. Two figures stood at the top of the stairs. Their faces were calm. Too calm. One of them spoke, smiling. You're awake. That's good. They walked down slowly, like they had all the time in the world. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. They crouched in front of me. You had a little accident, the voice said gently. You fainted. We're just taking care of you. Lies. Every word was a lie. They lifted me up and untied my ankles, but my wrists stayed bound. We're moving you upstairs, they said. It's warmer there. I was too weak to fight. They carried me like I weighed nothing. As we reached the top of the stairs, I caught a glimpse of the living room. The table was still set for Thanksgiving dinner. Plates untouched. Food cold. Like the meal was never meant to be eaten. Only staged. They placed me on a bed and tied me down again, tighter this time. Get some rest, the voice said. Tomorrow will be a big day. They turned off the light. The door closed. I lay there, staring into the darkness, my body shaking. Morning. They were waiting for morning. I didn't know what would happen when the sun came up. But I knew one thing. If I didn't find a way to escape before then, I wouldn't leave that house alive. The night felt endless. I lay on the bed, staring into the darkness, listening to every sound the house made. The walls creaked softly, like the house itself was breathing. Somewhere far away, a clock ticked. Each second felt louder than the last. Tick, tick, tick. My wrists burned where the rope cut into my skin. My legs were stiff. My mouth was dry again, even after the water the maid had given me. I tried to move my fingers. They still worked. That gave me a little hope. I closed my eyes and forced myself to think. Don't panic, I told myself. Panic will only make things worse. But fear has a way of pushing logic aside. They were waiting for morning. They wanted to make my death look like an accident. The thought made my chest tighten so badly I thought I might pass out. I thought about screaming. But I remembered the calm smiles. The way they spoke softly, like everything was normal. People like that don't panic when you scream. They plan for it. Hours passed. At least, I think they did. The door opened quietly. Light from the hallway spilled into the room. I turned my head as much as I could. Someone stood there, watching me. Not moving. Just watching. My heart hammered. Please, I whispered. Let me go. The figure stepped inside. It was the same calm voice again. You're awake, it said. That's good. We need you calm. Need me. For what? I asked. The voice sighed, like I was a child asking too many questions. You worry too much, it said. Everything will be over soon. That word again. Soon. They stepped closer and placed something on the table beside the bed. A glass. Filled with clear liquid. Drink, the voice said. It will help you sleep. My stomach turned. I shook my head weakly. I don't want it. The smile disappeared. You should, the voice said softly. It will make this easier. I said no. For a moment, the room was very still. Then the voice hardened. Don't make this difficult. They lifted the glass and brought it closer to my lips. My heart raced. This was it. I turned my head away and pressed my lips together. The glass tilted. Liquid spilled down my cheek and onto the pillow. Suddenly, a sharp slap landed across my face. Pain exploded in my head. Enough, the voice snapped. They put the glass down hard. We tried to be kind. The door slammed. The lock clicked. I sobbed quietly, shaking from head to toe. But deep inside that fear, something else began to grow. Anger. I stayed awake after that. I was too afraid to sleep. I listened again. Footsteps. Whispers. A door opening and closing. Then, very softly, I heard a knock. 3 quick taps. My heart jumped. The door opened just a little. The maid slipped inside and closed it behind her. She rushed to my side. They're arguing, she whispered. They didn't expect you to fight. She pulled something from her pocket. A small knife. Not sharp. Old. But real. My eyes widened. Can you cut the ropes? I asked. She tried. The rope was thick. She pressed harder, her hands shaking. Hurry, I whispered. I'm trying, she said, tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry. The rope around my wrist loosened slightly, but not enough. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. The maid froze. They're coming back, she whispered. I can't stay. She slipped the knife under the mattress. If you get free, she said quickly, don't go downstairs. The front door is locked. Go to the back. There's a window that doesn't close right. Then she was gone. The door closed. The lock clicked again. But this time, something was different. The rope around my wrist was loose. Just a little. I worked at it slowly, carefully. I rubbed my wrist against the rope, ignoring the pain. Minutes passed. My hand slipped free. I covered my mouth to keep from crying out. One hand free. I reached for the knife under the mattress and began sawing at the other rope. My arms shook. Sweat dripped down my face. Finally, the rope snapped. I was free. I sat up slowly, dizzy and weak. My legs barely held me when I stood. I listened. Silence. I crept to the door and pressed my ear against it. Voices downstairs. Arguing. Now was my chance. I opened the door quietly and stepped into the hallway. The house looked different at night. Shadows stretched long across the walls. I moved slowly, holding on to the wall for balance. I remembered what the maid said. The back. I turned the corner and froze. Someone stood at the end of the hallway, blocking my path. The light flicked on. Their eyes widened. Well, the voice said calmly. Looks like you didn't sleep after all. My heart dropped into my stomach. I turned to run. Strong hands grabbed me from behind. I screamed. The scream echoed through the house. The last thing I heard before everything went dark again was a cold, angry voice saying, she was not supposed to wake up. I woke up screaming. My throat burned. My head felt like it was splitting in two. For a moment, I didn't know where I was or what had happened. I tried to sit up, and pain exploded through my body. I wasn't on the bed anymore. I was on the floor. Cold tile pressed against my cheek. My arms were stretched out above my head, tied again. This time, tighter. Much tighter. My ankles were tied too. I had been dragged somewhere else. The smell told me where I was. The kitchen. I could smell old food, grease, and something sharp, like cleaning liquid. My stomach twisted. Lights were on now. Bright. Blinding. I blinked hard, trying to focus. Chairs were pushed against the wall. The table was empty. No food. No plates. No signs of Thanksgiving at all. It was like the holiday had never existed. Someone stood in front of me. Arms crossed. Face calm. Too calm. So, the voice said, slow and controlled. You tried to run. My lips trembled. Please, I whispered. Let me go. I won't tell anyone. The voice laughed softly. That's what everyone says. Another person stepped forward. You made things harder than they needed to be, they said. That's disappointing. Disappointing. As if I had failed a test. I looked around desperately. Why are you doing this? I cried. What did I do wrong? For the first time, the calm broke. You exist, the voice snapped. That's what you did. The words hit me harder than any slap. You were never supposed to be here this long, they continued. This was meant to be simple. Simple. Kidnapping me. Tying me up. Planning my death. Simple. They left me there on the floor. Just like that. No answers. No mercy. I lay there shaking, my cheek pressed against the cold tile. Tears soaked the floor beneath me. My whole body ached. Every muscle screamed. Time passed. Minutes. Hours. I couldn't tell. At some point, I heard arguing again. Loud this time. Angry. You said she wouldn't fight. She's stronger than you think. This is getting risky. My heart raced. Risky. That meant people would start asking questions. That meant plans were changing. Suddenly, the back door opened. Cold air rushed in. A familiar voice whispered urgently. Please, don't cry. Listen to me. The maid. She knelt beside me quickly, her eyes wild with fear. They're panicking, she whispered. They didn't expect you to wake up. They didn't expect you to escape. Please, I sobbed. Untie me. She shook her head. I can't. They're watching. But I brought this. She slipped something into my hand. A small metal object. A hairpin. It's not much, she said, but it's all I could get. She leaned close. They're going to move you before sunrise, she whispered. They think if you leave this house, everything will be easier. Where? I asked. Her lips trembled. I don't know. And that scares me. Footsteps. She stood up quickly and backed away. Whatever happens, she whispered, do not stop fighting. Then she was gone again. I clenched the hairpin in my fist. My hands were numb, but I forced them to move. I twisted my wrist slowly, carefully, pressing the pin against the rope. It hurt. I bit my lip to keep from screaming. I worked at it again and again. The rope didn't snap, but it loosened. Just a little. Hope flared in my chest. Voices grew closer. Someone entered the kitchen. They stopped when they saw me moving. Enough, the voice said sharply. Rough hands grabbed my arms and lifted me up. I cried out as pain shot through my shoulders. They dragged me toward the hallway. I kicked. I screamed. I fought. Stop. I begged. Please. Too late, the voice said coldly. We should have done this sooner. They opened the back door. The night air hit my face. Outside, it was dark and quiet. No neighbors. No lights. A car waited with its trunk open. My heart dropped. No, I cried. No, please. They shoved me toward it. That was when something unexpected happened. A loud crash. A scream. Stop. The maid ran toward us, holding something in her hand. A phone. I called for help, she shouted. I told them everything. For a split second, no one moved. Then chaos exploded. Get her. Are you crazy? Take the phone. Hands flew everywhere. Someone grabbed the maid. She screamed. I saw my chance. I twisted my wrist hard. The rope slipped. I pulled free. I ran. Barefoot. Weak. Crying. I ran into the darkness. I heard shouting behind me. Footsteps pounding. Don't let her get away. My lungs burned. My legs shook. I didn't know where I was going. I just ran. Then bright lights flashed. A loud siren cut through the night. Red and blue lights filled the road. I collapsed. Arms wrapped around me. A voice said, "You're safe now." But even as I lay there, shaking, wrapped in a blanket, I knew this was not the end. Because as the sun began to rise, someone was still watching me from the house. And whatever they had planned, it wasn't finished yet. They said I was safe. Those words were spoken over and over again, soft and firm, like they were trying to push them into my head. A blanket was wrapped around my shoulders. Someone pressed a warm cup into my hands. I was guided into the back of a car with flashing lights. Safe. But my body did not believe it. I was shaking so badly my teeth kept clicking together. My hands would not stop trembling. Every sound made me jump. When the door of the car closed, I screamed and tried to crawl backward, thinking I was being locked up again. "It's okay," a calm voice said. "You're not going back there. Not going back." I stared out the window as the house slowly disappeared behind us. It looked quiet. Normal. Like nothing terrible had ever happened inside it. That scared me more than anything. At the station, everything felt bright and loud. Too bright. Too loud. People asked me questions. What's your name? Can you tell us what happened? Did anyone hurt you? Their mouths moved, but the words felt far away. My head throbbed. I felt like I was floating above my own body, watching someone else sit there wrapped in a blanket. I don't know, I whispered again and again. A woman knelt in front of me. She had kind eyes. You're doing great, she said gently. Take your time. Time. Time had almost killed me. They took pictures of the marks on my wrists, the bruises on my ankles, the red line across my cheek. Every click of the camera made my stomach twist. A doctor looked me over and said I was lucky. You're dehydrated, exhausted, bruised, he said. But you're alive. Alive. The word felt strange in my mouth. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, more people arrived. Papers were signed. Phones rang. Voices whispered in corners. Then I saw her. The maid. She sat across the room, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her eyes were red, her face pale. When our eyes met, she looked down quickly, like she was ashamed. No, I said suddenly, louder than I meant to. Don't blame her. Everyone turned to look at me. She tried to help me, I said, my voice shaking. She saved my life. The room went quiet. Someone nodded slowly and wrote something down. The maid looked up at me then, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have done more. I shook my head. You did everything you could. And I meant it. They told me I would need somewhere safe to stay. Just for now, they said. Until we sort things out. Sort things out. Like this was a mess of papers. I was taken to a small room with a bed. Clean sheets. A window. A door that locked from the inside. When they left me alone, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my hands. They were still shaking. I tried to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the basement. The rope. The calm smile. I bolted upright, gasping for air. No. I would not sleep. Not yet. Later that day, someone came to speak with me again. We need you to tell us everything, they said. From the beginning. So I did. I talked about the invitation. The smiles. The maid's warning. The drink. Waking up tied to the floor. When I talked about the words, make it look like an accident, the room grew very quiet. They exchanged looks. That part is important, one of them said. Why? I asked. They hesitated. Because, the voice said slowly, this isn't the first time something like this has happened. My heart skipped. What do you mean? I asked. They leaned closer. There have been other incidents. People invited. People who didn't leave. I felt sick. How many? I whispered. The answer was not spoken out loud. But I understood it anyway. That night, I was taken somewhere else. A safer place, they said. Quiet. Hidden. I was given food, but I couldn't eat. Every bite made my throat close. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. That's when I heard it. A soft knock. 3 taps. My whole body froze. No, I whispered to myself. No, no, no. The door opened slowly. A familiar voice said gently, "It's just me." I turned my head. The maid stepped inside. She closed the door behind her. "How did you find me?" I asked, my heart pounding. She looked scared. "They asked me to come," she said. "They said you might want to see me." I watched her carefully. Something felt wrong. She sat on the edge of the bed. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "What?" I asked. She swallowed hard. They didn't plan to stop with you. My breath caught. They had names, she continued. Dates. Invitations. My stomach dropped. And now, she said, her voice breaking, they know you're alive. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed closer. I hugged the blanket tighter around me. What does that mean? I whispered. Her eyes filled with fear. It means, she said slowly, they're going to try again. I never thought a night meant for food, laughter, and family would turn into the darkest night of my life. Before I go any further, please take a second to subscribe, like this story, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Stories about hidden pain, shocking truth, and strength you never knew existed. And tell me in the comments which country you're watching from. I read them all, and it helps me know I'm not alone here. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you still shakes me to this day. By the time the sun came up the next morning, everyone was standing outside the house in shock. Police lights flashed. Neighbors whispered. And I was sitting on the cold ground, wrapped in a blanket, unable to stop shaking. Because just hours earlier, on Thanksgiving night, I had been held captive. It started with darkness. Not the kind that comes when lights go off, but the kind that presses on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I remember the smell first. Cold food, dust, and something damp, like old wood. My wrists burned. My ankles hurt. When I tried to move, metal scraped against metal. That was when I realized the truth. I was tied up. Hello, I whispered, my voice dry and weak. No answer. My heart began to pound so loudly I thought someone else could hear it. I tried to sit up, but pain shot through my arms. Rope. Thick rope. Tied tight. I was on the floor. Then I heard footsteps above me. Slow. Careful. Like whoever it was didn't want to make noise. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped. A door creaked open somewhere above my head. And a voice said, calm and low, she's still here. My blood ran cold. Let me stop here for a moment, because to understand how I ended up like that, tied up on Thanksgiving night, we have to go back a few days earlier. Back to when everything still looked normal. Back to when I thought I was finally being welcomed. I am a woman in my early 60s. I have lived a quiet life. I worked hard. I raised my children the best I could. I am not rich. I am not powerful. I am just a mother who wanted peace. For years, holidays had been lonely. Thanksgiving especially. I would sit at my small table with a single plate of food, the TV on low, pretending I didn't mind. I would tell myself, they're busy. Life is hard. It's okay. But deep down it hurt. So when the message came, my heart jumped. It was an invitation. A Thanksgiving invitation. I read it twice. Then 3 times. It sounded warm. Kind. Almost loving. We want you here. Please come. It won't be the same without you. I sat there holding my phone, smiling like a fool. For the first time in years, I felt chosen. The day came quickly. Thanksgiving afternoon was cool and quiet. I dressed carefully, choosing my best clothes. I even brought a small dish, even though I was told not to. Old habits die hard. As I stood at the door of the house, something felt off. I couldn't explain it. The house looked fine. Big. Clean. Decorated for the holiday. Lights on. Music playing softly inside. But my chest felt tight. I knocked. The door opened with a smile. Warm hugs. Laughter. The smell of food filled the air. Everything looked perfect. Come in, I was told. You must be tired. I stepped inside. That was my first mistake. Dinner was almost ready, they said. I was asked to sit and rest. As I walked through the house, I noticed how quiet it was. Too quiet for a holiday. No children running around. No loud talking. Then I saw her. The maid. She was standing near the hallway, holding a tray. She looked young, tired, and afraid. Our eyes met. Her hands began to shake. She stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. I frowned, confused. I gave a small smile. She didn't smile back. Instead, she took a step toward me. Then another. Her voice was barely a whisper, but her eyes were screaming. "Please," she said, so softly I almost didn't hear it. "Don't go any further." I laughed nervously. "It's okay. I'm family." Her face went pale. She leaned closer and whispered words that made my stomach drop. "You should not be here." Before I could ask what she meant, a voice from behind snapped. "What are you doing?" The maid jumped back like she had been burned. She lowered her head and walked away quickly, without another word. Everyone else acted like nothing had happened. But my heart was racing. I should have left right then. But I didn't. Dinner was delayed. Excuse after excuse. Just one more thing. "Something is missing. Sit down, relax." Hours passed. The food was never served. Instead, the house grew quieter. The music stopped. The lights seemed dimmer. Then someone said, "It's late. You should stay the night." I opened my mouth to say no. That's when everything went wrong. The next thing I remember was waking up in the dark. Tied up. Cold. Alone. Held captive on Thanksgiving night. And somewhere above me, someone was deciding what to do with me next. I didn't know how long I had been there. I didn't know if I would survive until morning. But I knew one thing for sure. The invitation was never about dinner. And whatever they had planned for me, it wasn't over yet. I didn't sleep at all that night. After the maid left, her words stayed with me like a shadow that would not move. "They're going to try again." Every small sound made my heart jump. The hum of a light. A footstep in the hallway. Even my own breathing felt too loud. I sat up in bed, clutching the blanket, listening. The door was locked. I checked it 3 times. Still, I did not feel safe. Morning came slowly, like it didn't want to face me either. Sunlight crept through the window, soft and pale. For a moment, it almost felt normal. Almost peaceful. But then I remembered everything. The ropes. The basement. The calm voice saying, "Everything will be over soon." My stomach twisted. Someone knocked on the door. I flinched. "It's okay," a voice said from the other side. "Breakfast." I didn't answer. The door opened carefully. A woman stepped inside with a tray. She looked kind, but I didn't trust kindness anymore. She placed the tray on the table and stepped back. "You don't have to eat," she said gently. "Just try to rest." Rest. I nodded but didn't move. After she left, I stared at the food. Toast. Fruit. Warm tea. My hands shook. Slowly, I pushed the tray away. I couldn't do it. Later that day, they came again with questions. This time, more people were there. Serious faces. Notebooks. Quiet voices. "We believe this was planned," one of them said. "Very carefully." I nodded. "They knew when to invite you," another voice added. "They knew you wouldn't question it." That hurt more than I expected. "So, they picked me because I'm easy?" I asked. No one answered. That was answer enough. Then they told me something that made my blood run cold. "They were watching you before the invitation," the voice said. "For weeks." My chest tightened. "They knew your routines. When you went out. When you stayed home." I felt exposed. Like my skin had been peeled away. "They wanted someone who wouldn't be missed right away," the voice continued softly. I looked down at my hands. Lonely holidays. Quiet days. No one checking in. They were right. That afternoon, I was moved again. Another place. Another room. Another locked door. Just temporary, they said. Temporary had become a word I hated. I sat by the window, staring outside. Cars passed. People walked by, laughing, living their normal lives. I wondered how many of them knew how close danger really was. That evening, my phone buzzed. I jumped. No one had told me I could use it yet. I stared at the screen. Unknown number. My heart began to pound. I didn't want to answer. But I did. Hello. I whispered. Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Calm. The same calm. A voice spoke. I'm glad you're awake. My whole body went cold. How did you get this number? I whispered. A soft laugh came through the phone. You forget, the voice said. We've been watching you for a long time. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. You should have stayed, the voice continued. Things would have been easier. I hung up. My hands shook so badly I dropped the phone. Someone knocked on the door immediately. I screamed this time. They rushed in, asking questions, checking the phone. I could barely speak. They called me, I cried. They know where I am. The room exploded into motion. Voices raised. Phones ringing. Doors opening and closing. One of them looked at me, face tight. That means they're closer than we thought. That night, I was moved again. No explanations. No questions. Just urgency. As the car drove through the dark streets, I watched the mirrors. Every shadow looked like someone following us. When we finally stopped, the place looked empty. Too empty. I was led inside quickly. Locks clicked. Lights turned on. You're safe here, someone said. I didn't answer. Hours later, when everything was quiet again, I heard it. A sound outside. Slow footsteps. Crunching gravel. I held my breath. A shadow passed under the door. Then a soft knock. 3 taps. My heart nearly stopped. A voice whispered through the door. We know you're in there. I backed away, tears streaming down my face. The handle rattled. Harder. The lights flickered. And then, sirens. Shouting. Running footsteps. Silence. When the door finally opened, they rushed in. It's okay, they said. They're gone. Gone. But not caught. I sank to the floor, shaking. Because now I understood the truth. They didn't just want to erase me. They wanted to break me first. And until they were stopped, I would never truly be free. After that night, something inside me changed. Fear was still there. It sat heavy in my chest, tight and cold. But now, fear was no longer alone. Anger had joined it. I was tired of running. Tired of locked doors. Tired of strangers telling me I was safe, when I didn't feel safe at all. Most of all, I was tired of being treated like a problem that needed to be hidden. Morning came again, but this time there was no softness to it. No gentle knock. No calm voice offering breakfast. Instead, there was urgency. People speaking in low tones. Phones ringing. Doors opening and closing fast. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding my knees to my chest, listening. Something was happening. Finally, the door opened and 2 people stepped in. Their faces were serious. We need to talk, one of them said. I nodded. They sat across from me. We believe the call you received wasn't random, the voice said. It was meant to send a message. A message? I asked quietly. Yes, the voice continued. They want you scared, confused, isolated. They were succeeding. We also believe, the voice added, that someone is feeding them information. My heart skipped. From where? I asked. They exchanged a look. From close by. I thought of the places I had been moved to, the people who had seen me. The maid. No, I said quickly. Not her. She wouldn't. They nodded. We agree. She's been cooperative. Very brave, actually. Relief washed over me, but it didn't last long. Then who? I asked. They hesitated again. There's someone we haven't talked about yet, the voice said slowly. Someone connected to the invitation. My stomach dropped. Connected to the invitation. Family. The room felt smaller. I don't understand, I whispered. Why would anyone do this to me? The answer came quietly. Money. Control. And silence. Silence. That word echoed in my head. They explained carefully, slowly, like they were afraid I might break. The invitation wasn't just about me coming to dinner. It was about removing me. About making sure I could never ask questions. Never speak up. Never be around again. You knew something, the voice said. Even if you didn't realize it. Knew what? I asked. They slid a folder across the table. Inside were papers. Old papers. Legal papers. Names. Dates. Numbers. My hands shook as I looked at them. This doesn't make sense, I whispered. It will, the voice said. Eventually. That afternoon, they brought the maid to see me again. She looked exhausted. Like she hadn't slept in days. When she sat down, she reached for my hand. I was scared, she said softly. But I couldn't stay quiet anymore. You saved my life, I told her. She shook her head. I tried to save others before you. My heart stopped. Others? I whispered. She nodded, tears falling. There were signs, she said. Things that didn't add up. Rooms that were cleaned too well. People who were mentioned once. Then never again. My chest tightened. And no one listened? I asked. They didn't want to, she said. It was easier not to. Easier. I understood that word now more than ever. That night, they let me watch through the window. From a distance. The house. The same one. Lights on. Curtains drawn. It looked peaceful. Normal. They're acting like nothing happened, I whispered. Yes, the voice beside me said. Because that's what they're good at. I felt sick. How do you stop people like that? I asked. The answer came cold and honest. You don't rush, the voice said. You wait. You watch. And you let them make a mistake. I didn't like waiting. But I agreed. Days passed. Then more days. Each one felt longer than the last. I jumped at every sound. Every phone buzz. Every knock. Then, one evening, the maid came back. Her face pale, her voice shaking. They're planning another dinner, she whispered. My blood ran cold. For who? I asked. She swallowed hard. For someone else. My hands clenched into fists. No, I said. Not again. They think you're broken, she said. They think you won't talk. She was wrong. That night, my phone buzzed again. This time, there was a message. No number. Just words. You should have stayed quiet. My heart raced. Then another message came. Next time, we won't miss. I stared at the screen, shaking. But instead of fear, I felt resolve. They thought I was weak. They thought I was alone. They were wrong. Because now, I wasn't just surviving. I was watching too. And the next move would decide who truly walked away free. The message stayed on my phone all night. I didn't delete it. I didn't reply. I just stared at it until my eyes burned. You should have stayed quiet. Next time, we won't miss. Those words were meant to scare me back into silence. But something inside me refused to shrink anymore. If they were planning another dinner, another invitation, another trap, then someone else was about to walk into the same nightmare I barely escaped. And I could not let that happen. The next morning, I asked to speak to everyone at once. Not later. Not when things calmed down. Now. They gathered in the small room where I had been staying. Serious faces. Careful eyes. Pens ready. I held up my phone. They contacted me again, I said. The room went silent. This wasn't a threat, I continued. It was a promise. One of them leaned forward. We believe you. That's not enough, I said. My voice was shaking, but I didn't stop. You said they're planning another dinner. That means they think they're safe. That means they're confident. I took a breath. That's when people make mistakes. They didn't answer right away. They looked at each other. Finally, someone spoke. There may be a way, they said slowly. But it's dangerous. I laughed softly. Everything about this has been dangerous. They explained the plan carefully. No rushing. No sudden moves. They would let the dinner happen. They would watch. And they would wait for proof, real proof, that could not be explained away. My stomach turned. And the person they invited? I asked. They won't be alone, the voice said. Not for a second. I nodded. I trusted them. But trusting did not erase fear. That afternoon, the maid came to see me again. She looked different. Stronger. Still scared, but no longer silent. They asked me to prepare the house, she said. Like before. My chest tightened. Did you say yes? I asked. She nodded slowly. I had to, she said. If I didn't, they would know something was wrong. I reached for her hand. You don't have to do this, I said. She squeezed my fingers. Yes, she replied softly. I do. The day of the dinner arrived. I wasn't there. But in my mind, I could see everything clearly. The table set perfectly. The food placed just right. The smiles practiced in front of mirrors. I imagined the door opening. The guest stepping inside. Trusting. Unaware. My heart pounded as if I were the one walking into that house again. Hours passed. No updates. No calls. I paced the room, back and forth, until my legs ached. Every minute felt like an hour. Then my phone buzzed. One message. It's starting. I sat down hard on the bed. My hands were cold. Time moved slowly again. Just like that Thanksgiving night. Then another message. Something's wrong. My heart skipped. Then another. They're arguing. I held my breath. Then. Sirens. Even from where I was, I could hear them faintly in the distance. My phone rang. It's happening, a voice said quickly. Stay where you are. I pressed the phone to my ear, tears streaming down my face. Is the guest safe? I asked. A pause. Yes, the voice said. Thanks to you. Relief hit me so hard I had to lie down. But it didn't last. Something else happened, the voice continued. We found something in the house. What? I asked. A long pause. A room, the voice said slowly. Hidden. Locked. And very familiar. My heart stopped. The basement. I whispered. Yes, the voice replied. I closed my eyes. Hours later, I was told everything. The hidden room wasn't just a room. It was proof. Ropes. Records. Photos. Names. More than I could count. People who had trusted an invitation. People who had never been seen again. My stomach twisted painfully. How long? I whispered. Years, came the answer. That night, as I sat alone again, the weight of it all finally crushed down on me. I wasn't just a victim. I was a survivor who had interrupted something terrible. But surviving had made me a target. My phone buzzed one last time before midnight. An unknown number. One sentence. This isn't over. I stared at the screen, heart racing. because now I understood the truth. Stopping them once didn't mean they were finished. It meant they were desperate. And desperate people do their most dangerous things in the dark. I stopped sleeping completely after that message. This isn't over. Those 4 words followed me everywhere. In the quiet moments. In the noise. Even when my eyes were open, my mind kept replaying them like a warning that refused to fade. They were right about one thing. It wasn't over. The next morning, the room felt heavier than usual. The air itself seemed tense, like it was waiting for something bad to happen. Someone came in early. "We need to prepare you," they said. "For what?" I asked. They didn't answer right away. Instead, they sat down across from me and spoke carefully, slowly. "What we found in that house changes everything," the voice said. "But it also puts you in more danger." I nodded. I already knew that. "They didn't act alone," the voice continued. "There are others. People who helped. People who looked away." My chest tightened. "How many?" I whispered. "Enough," they replied. They showed me more evidence that day. Not everything. They said some things were too disturbing. But they showed me enough. Photos of the house from different angles. Lists of dates marked like reminders. Notes written in calm handwriting. One line stood out to me. "Holiday gatherings work best." My stomach turned. Thanksgiving had never been special to them. It was just convenient. The maid came later, her face pale. "They're scared," she said quietly. "I can tell." "Good," I replied, surprising even myself. She looked at me carefully. "You're not afraid anymore," she said. "I am," I answered honestly. "But I'm done being quiet." She nodded slowly. "There's something else," she said. "Something I didn't tell anyone yet." My heart raced. "What?" I asked. She leaned in. "There was a backup plan," she whispered. "In case someone escaped." My blood ran cold. "What kind of plan?" I asked. Her lips trembled. "To make it look like you disappeared on your own." I felt dizzy. "They were going to spread stories," she continued. "That you left. That you were unstable. That you didn't want to be found." I clenched my fists. "Erase me. Not just my body. My truth." That afternoon, I was moved again. This time, they didn't pretend it was temporary. "This is the safest option right now," they said. The place was smaller, quieter, hidden better. But safety came with a cost. Isolation. No windows I could open. No stepping outside. No familiar faces. Just waiting. As evening came, the news broke. I didn't see it on TV, but I heard the reaction. Phones buzzing non-stop. Voices raised in the hallway. Urgent whispers. "They're denying everything," someone said. I laughed bitterly. "Of course they were." "They say you're confused," another voice added. "They say you imagined most of it." My laughter stopped. "They're attacking your credibility," the voice continued. Hard. My legs felt weak. "So that's the plan," I whispered. "Make me look crazy." "Yes," they replied. "Because if people don't believe you, nothing else matters." That night, I asked to see the maid again. When she arrived, I looked her straight in the eyes. "Are you scared?" I asked. She nodded. "Every second." "Then we're the same," I said. She took a deep breath. "They don't know everything I know," she said quietly. My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" I asked. "There's one thing," she continued, "they never found." She reached into her bag and pulled out something small. "A flash drive. I took it months ago," she said. "I didn't know why at the time. I just knew it was wrong." My hands shook as I took it. "What's on it?" I asked. She swallowed. "Proof," she said. "The kind they can't explain away." That changed everything. Plans shifted. Voices sharpened. Urgency filled every corner of the building. If this gets out, someone said, it ends them. But ending them didn't mean ending the danger. That night, I couldn't sit still. I paced. I watched the door. I listened. Then, just after midnight, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. My heart jumped. The power went out. Complete darkness. I froze. Then I heard it. A sound I knew too well. 3 slow taps. On the door. My blood ran cold. A familiar calm voice spoke from the other side. You really should have stayed quiet. I backed away, shaking. The handle began to turn. And I realized something terrifying. They hadn't come for revenge. They had come to finish what they started. The handle stopped turning. For one long second, nothing happened. I stood frozen in the dark, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it could be heard on the other side of the door. My hands were shaking. My legs felt weak, like they might give out at any moment. Then the calm voice spoke again. You're making this harder than it needs to be. The same voice. The same tone. Soft. Patient. Dangerous. I backed away slowly until my shoulders touched the wall. I'm not opening the door, I whispered, even though I knew they could hear me. A quiet laugh came through the wood. You won't have to. The handle rattled again, harder this time. I screamed. Suddenly, the hallway exploded with noise. Footsteps. Shouting. Someone yelling my name. The handle stopped. Heavy footsteps ran away from the door. Then light snapped back on all at once, blinding me. The door burst open, not from the outside, but from behind me. Hands grabbed my arms. I screamed again, fighting, kicking. It's us. It's us. A voice shouted. You're safe. I collapsed. My knees hit the floor, and I sobbed so hard I couldn't breathe. They were here, I cried. They were right here. They wrapped a blanket around me, helped me up, guided me to a chair. Faces hovered in front of me, tense and angry. They got closer than we thought, someone said. How? I whispered. How did they find me again? No one answered right away. That scared me more than anything. Within minutes, the place was buzzing with activity. Doors were checked. Windows locked. Phones ringing non-stop. I sat in the corner, hugging myself, staring at the door they had almost opened. The maid arrived soon after. Her face was pale, her eyes wide. They came for you, she said softly, like she was afraid the walls might hear. Yes, I replied. And they weren't afraid anymore. She sat beside me, gripping my hand. They're desperate, she said. And desperate people make mistakes. I wanted to believe that. But fear was winning again. Later that night, they finally told me the truth. We believe someone gave them your location, one of them said. My stomach dropped. Who? I asked. They hesitated. We don't know for sure yet, the voice said. But it wasn't a stranger. My chest tightened. Someone close. I whispered. The silence was answer enough. They moved me again before sunrise. No explanations. No arguments. I was too tired to fight it. As the car drove through empty streets, I watched the shadows carefully. Every parked car looked suspicious. Every passing light made me flinch. Why won't they stop? I asked quietly. The voice in the front seat answered honestly. Because you're alive. I closed my eyes. When we arrived, the place looked different from the others. Stronger. More secure. But colder. I was led inside, through locked doors and long hallways. They sat me down and placed something on the table in front of me. The flash drive. This changes things, the voice said. But once we use it, there's no going back. I nodded. I don't want to go back, I said. They plugged it in. The room went silent. Then the screen lit up. video files, audio recordings, clear voices, clear faces, plans spoken out loud, names mentioned casually, laughter after things that should never be laughed about. I covered my mouth, tears streaming down my face. "That's them," I whispered. "That's exactly how they sounded." Someone turned away. "This is enough," the voice said firmly. "This ends it." But even as they said it, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I froze. Slowly, I pulled it out. Another message. Unknown number. One sentence. "You think a screen can save you?" My heart dropped. Then another message appeared. "You forgot one thing." My fingers trembled as the final message came in. "Morning is coming." I looked up, terror filling my eyes. "They know," I whispered. "They know what we found." The room erupted into motion. "Lock everything down. Move now. Don't let her out of sight." But deep down, I felt it. This wasn't about running anymore. This was about a final move. Because by morning, one way or another, everything was going to end. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. No sirens. No shouting. No footsteps running through the halls. Just light. Soft sunlight slowly pushed through the narrow window, touching the floor like it was afraid to wake anything up. I sat upright on the bed, my heart already racing. Morning is coming. Their last message echoed in my head. They had said it like a promise. Or a threat. People were already moving when I stepped into the hallway. Faces tight. Voices low but fast. "It's time," someone said. Time for what? I was led into a room I hadn't been in before. Screens covered one wall. Cameras. Live feeds. Maps. Phones ringing non-stop. "They made their move at dawn," a voice explained. "Just like we expected." Expected. I hugged my arms around myself. "Are they here?" I asked. "No," the voice said. "Worse." My stomach dropped. They showed me the footage. Not everything at once. Slowly. Carefully. The house. The same one. Lights on early. Doors opening. People arriving. Not guests. Authorities. Neighbors watching from across the street. Whispers spreading. Then, handcuffs. Not on me. On them. I stared at the screen, my breath caught in my throat. One by one, they were led out of the house. Calm faces finally cracking. Smiles gone. Eyes darting around, searching for control that was no longer there. I pressed a hand over my mouth. "It's over," I whispered. The voice beside me didn't answer right away. "It's ending," they said carefully. "There's a difference." They explained everything. The flash drive changed everything. The recordings. The plans. The names. People talked when they thought no one would ever hear them. People planned when they believed no one would ever stop them. But they had underestimated one thing. Me. And the maid. And the simple fact that survival creates witnesses. Later that day, I was allowed outside for the first time in what felt like forever. The air felt different. Lighter. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, like I was learning how to breathe again. The maid stood beside me. "They're asking questions now," she said softly. "Good," I replied. She looked at me carefully. "You're not afraid anymore," she said. I thought about it. Fear was still there. But it no longer owned me. "I'm still afraid," I said. "But I'm not silent." She smiled for the first time since I met her. News spread fast. People talked. Some didn't want to believe it. Some said it couldn't be true. But evidence does not argue. It waits. And then it speaks. That evening, I sat alone in a quiet room, holding my phone. For the first time in days, there were no new messages. No threats. No warnings. Just silence. I looked at my reflection in the dark screen. I looked older, tired, but stronger. They tried to erase me. Instead, they exposed themselves. Before I end this story, I want to say something important. If you are watching this right now, and you have ever felt ignored, dismissed, or treated like you didn't matter, you do. Silence protects the wrong people. Speaking up saves lives. Mine included. If this story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Stories of survival, truth, and courage. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Let me know I'm not alone. Because what happened to me started with a simple invitation. But it ended with the truth walking into the light. And this time, I walked out free.